Hello and welcome. My name is Marc Blatstein, the physician founder of Physician Pre-Sentence Report Service. Today, I'm going to discuss Elizabeth Holmes as she entered prison today, May 30, 2023, in Texas. And so I don't really there's no ulterior motive here. I'm not either for or against Miss Holmes as to what she did, but it definitely brings back memories because I was convicted of a felony about 20 years ago in 2010. I'm grateful to have my license to practice reinstated in full. But what caused me to transition from patient care to working with all of you was my lack of preparation for everything from the legal system to entering the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And I fear that, or my concern is that Ms. Holmes, while she probably has a stellar legal team and she has a stellar mind, that she is likely not as prepared as she thinks she is. And so let me try and get this all set up so we can view this together. Okay, bring it down. Okay, Physician Pre-Sentence Report Service. This is me. And the original article comes from, I just pulled this off of Elizabeth Holmes Gone to Prison. And is she going to pay her victims back? And it's going to be, she's going into Texas as Holmes walks into a Texas BOP facility. And here we go. And so getting into a federal prison camp, usually they are designated for those under 10 years. Potentially, her judge was there was something in the pre-sentence report that allowed him to do that, to put her into a minimum camp, and her pattern score allowed him or allowed the judge to do that. So the original sentence was 11 years. And so this is kind of how I'm going to do my little discussion here. 11 years, 12 months is a 132-month sentence. 15% of it will come off the top as good time credit. That equals around 19.8 months of good time credit. So if you look at that, that means that we're starting at 11 years, and it's going to come down to from 132 months to 112.2 months, or 9.35 years, as long as there's no disciplinary infraction. So what does that mean? No one really anticipates getting in trouble. Not really. I mean, I didn't. I was convicted of a felony about a little under 20 years ago. And while I'm grateful that I was able to get my license to practice reinstated back in 2010. I was completely unprepared for everything that happened, both within the court system, the legal system, and then within the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And so what caused me to transition from patient care after my reinstatement in 2010 to working with all of you is with the hopes of preparing you in the best way possible so that you are able to get the best possible results as you prepare for your pre-sentence interview and potential time within the Federal Bureau of Prisons. While Ms. Holmes had most likely a stellar legal team, I don't know that they provided a completely 365-degree stellar defense regarding what she's about to get into. So regarding disciplinary infractions, She's bound to have somebody offer her. She's going in as a celebrity. Everybody's going to know who she is. She's going to be the smartest person in the room. She cannot let the BOP staff know she's the smartest person in the room. They don't care. Right now, she's a convicted felon. She may not think she's a criminal, but they think she's a criminal. And because she's guilty now, she has to think she's a criminal, period. She's a justice impacted person. And so she'll be lonely at night times. And some of the other individuals are all for her a cell phone to call her kids. You're lonely. They want to talk to you. Don't use the cell phone, especially if you're calling home, because if they'll find the phone eventually. And then what's going to happen is that they'll find the phone number, and the phone number, if it matches your phone number at home, well, guess what? 8, 10, 12, 15 months later, they'll take away your good time. They'll take away your everything that you've gotten and you've worked so hard for. You don't need that. So you've had your 11 months, 11 years. At 12 months is 132 months. 15% off is 19.8 months. That equates to, you've dropped now from 11 years to 9.35 years, more or less. Now you have 11.2 months right here. You go into the first step back. So first step back allows you to earn time credits. It allows you to work your way to reduce your criminogenic tendencies incrementally over time. And the persons that decide if you're doing this are your stakeholders, who are currently your case manager, unit team, and the warden. And so they are going to offer you programs to take. So as someone who comes in with the academic credentials that Elizabeth has, they may offer you a program to balance your checkbook, teach you how to balance your checkbook. Well, don't roll your eyes. Say thank you. Be very humble. It's going to be hard, believe me. Say thank you and take the program. But there's a caveat. As soon as you get into prison and you're able to move around the compound and you get in front of a TrueLink's computer and you have your PAC number and your Bureau of Prison ID number, look, don't email home. Take the time, find the assessment survey for you with your name on it and take it. Because if you don't take the survey and your case manager offers you a program to take, your survey or your program, your first step back program, and you haven't taken the survey, you can take the programs, you can take a lot of the programs, but you will not be earning earned time credits by the end of the month. And so don't get upset when you look at your computation sheets and it shows 0 earned time credits, because you will not earn the credits until you take the survey. So be forewarned, take the survey right away. Don't forget. And then how earned time credits functions, according to the program statements from the Federal Bureau of Prisons, is that you have to go through 2 assessments. First assessment, you're going to take it with the computer and then with the case manager within the first 30 days. Second assessment's within 6 months. And then right at that point, after that assessment, the next assessment, you should be jumping from 10 credits a month to 15. Just an FYI. Now we're going to go on here. So now, hypothetically speaking, approximately, you can earn 12 months off your sentence after 2 years. So for every 6 months, for every year, you can earn 6 months worth of credit. So after 2 years, you can earn another 12 months, which drops you from 112.2 to 100.2 months, or instead of 9.35 years, 8.35 years after 2 years. Okay. But there's more to earning first step back credits, because you want to continue to take those credits because it'll give you more time in a halfway house. But it's going to earn you more time towards early release. In other words, initially, you're going to be able to this is going to give you more time off the sentence. This now, extra above that, is going to give you more time in a halfway house. But before they let you take these programs, Elizabeth, Holmes has financial penalty from the court order, a lot of big financial penalty. So there's a financial responsibility program that she has to participate with. And that financial responsibility program says that if she's going to be taking in, let's say, $1,000 a month to her commissary account, she should offer right away to pay. Ask the case manager, can I offer you $200 a month? I think I'll be taking $1,000 or so a month in. How about if we do $200 a month? Or if she's going to be taking in several $100s a month, can I pay $25 a month, $75 a quarter, something like that? But you have to pay something. If you refuse, well, then they may not offer you earn time credits. That doesn't look good at all. The next thing you have to do is that you need to be able to prove, you need to start documenting all that you do. And so there are several points that I think are important to cover. You probably haven't prepared for this, and so I'll be mentioning preparation several times throughout this YouTube, and I've mentioned it multiple times on other YouTubes and definitely multiple times on podcasts and through the website. Preparation is very big, mostly because I had none. There should be a contact person, hopefully at home or outside of the BOP. And part of what they're going to do is they're going to be, from Amazon, sending you the following: a journal which has lined paper in it, and then either printed words via a watermark on every page, which has inspirational writings, and it can be sports, religious, scientific, life skills, quotes from famous people, anything like that. It doesn't matter, but blank pages will not be allowed in. Then also spread out among family and friends. You should have books, nonfiction books, 2 to 3 books a month sent to you that you can begin reading. And the purpose is as follows. When you are offered the First Step Back programs to take, you should be, as you take the programs, as you come out every day, you should write into the journal the day you took, the day, the date, the time you took the program, who taught it, and what you learned from it that day. Now, some programs may run for several weeks or several months. At the end of the program, thank the case manager or counselor for in their first name for suggesting or recommending that you took it because you learned ABC. You learned this from it. I know you're the smartest person in the room. Doesn't matter. To them, you're just guilty and you have committed a crime. And so they're trying to help you reduce your criminogenic needs. You don't think you have any, but it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what your family thinks. It just matters what your case manager thinks. And so thank them. When you're going to be picking out 2 to 3 books to be mailed to you each month for the number of months you're going to be in prison, spread out among family and friends. And they can be on a range of topics that interest you. It can be biography, it can be history, it can be science, it can be life skills, learning, I have a list here because I keep running out of things to say right here. It can be 4 agreements, a practical guide to personal freedom, how great leaders inspire people. I'm reading this one now, Splendid and the Vile, a saga of Churchill during the Blitz. I've read Zen and the Outer Motorcycle Maintenance, History of Black History Between the Lies, Dick Gregory. There's a lot of why Cageberg sings, Rich Men in Babylon, anything at all. But you want to be reading and then writing what you're reading about and what you're learning from each book. And so that you're going to log the class that you're taking and the day, date, time, the teacher that taught it and what you learned. Then you're going to every day, and then you're going to write the day, date, and the chapter and what you read and your takeaway from what you read, no matter what it is, and the author of the book. And you are going to keep a record of all of this every day. And at the end of each week, you're going to send this home. And then when you go in to meet your case manager, and again, today is May 30, 2023. So let's say your next meeting with your case manager is January 30, 2024. And your case manager says that we have a note here that in May, this past May, you missed a couple of your first step back classes that we told you to go to. And you're going to say, I signed in. And they're going to say, well, we don't know it was you. I mean, you didn't go. What are you going to do? And so what are you going to do? So what we have here, why do all this writing? Well, I call it insurance. In life, we have life insurance, health insurance, auto insurance, and you hope you don't need it until you do. This is the example. What happens 6 months in, the BOP records show that you missed a couple classes and you have no paper trail. But you do. You have in this journal you've kept, you took copies of those pages, you brought them in. You couldn't have faked the records because you have every day. First there's the class, then there's the book you were reading. Then there's the next class, then there's the next chapter. Then the next class, then the next chapter. And so, but if you don't have that, all of a sudden you're kicked out of the First Step Act or you're made to start over. There's not really much you can do, but wish you had some sort of insurance. And so that's one of the big reason. It's not the most important reason. But you're also once a week typing and sending your takeaways home. Someone at home who has started, it can start on not as a blog on the net, but a blog at home, just for your records of everything that you're doing. You don't know what you're going to do with it later. But as of now, through the First Step Act, you've dropped from, let's say, 11 years down to 8.35. RDAP, which is the drug program. But in order to get RDAP, you have to have some sort of substance abuse within the 12 months prior to your arrest. That could be over-the-counter abuse, prescriptions, legal or illegal. It could be gambling. So regarding Elizabeth, was the pursuit of this unique laboratory blood testing quest something similar to gambling, something to think about? I don't know. That's something for Elizabeth to think about. She has a lot of time. Did she have therapy for anything? Was there anything that she was doing at home that she did not tell her attorneys? Anything at all? Because if there was, then her attorneys need to get to work. She can't make things up, but they can speak to if there was therapy sessions or anything at all and begin to look into what they can do. They can't reopen the pre-sentence report, but they can begin to get records together and at least speak to the attorney or speak to a mitigation specialist or talk to me or talk to someone else and begin to do something with those records so they don't collect dust. Now we're getting into something that I think is more important because it's never too late. Have they discussed with her the narrative or the release plan? It's never too late. So we're going to talk about the narrative and release plan now. And this is what I have gone ahead. I wrote this for LinkedIn. Personal narrative is writing your story. So what does that mean? It's for, so right now, before, if you didn't write the narrative or if Elizabeth Holmes did not write a narrative, the Department of Justice did. It's called her indictment. Nike has their narrative. It's their brand. Just do it. They have it written all over their sneakers and advertising on TV. Tesla, they have their narrative. They show it all the time for their car on YouTube's. SpaceX, he's very good with his narratives. So writing your story through a narrative tells the judge, or in this point, whomever, what you did, how you came to this point in your life. This is an arduous, self-reflective experience. But now she's going to not tell a judge. She pretty much has to tell. It's this introspective experience that she's going to have to go through on her own, to herself. This is her autobiography of herself and those around her, the good, the bad, and the ugly. She can't enlist anyone else to do it with her, help her mitigate, this particular experience, but it requires 100% of her participation. And it has to include everything from her childhood. Are there siblings? What did she do? What did her parents do? Was she, are the brothers, sisters, adopted, not adopted? Their parents, did they work, not work? Did they expect too much of her? What was her childhood like? High school like? How did you get involved with this particular venture? What was her involvement? Was her involvement day to day with all of the operations, or did she farm out some of the operations to other individuals? And mind you, she's responsible for what the buck stops with her. It's her company. So even though she gave the responsibility to other people, it's still her company. And so even though she gave the responsibilities out, this is still her business. And she's responsible for what everyone else did. And she has to understand, she has to go through and see how it impacted everyone else, people who she went to, not for just money, but for their reputations. This is a big deal. In other words, she went to people had very public lives for backing, and some backed her with money, and some backed her with phone calls and reputations. And, in looking back, it didn't look good on each and every one of them. And so what is her plan? If she has a plan, how can she make that right? It's a traumatic event for her, but it was a traumatic event for them. And so as she goes through this, there needs to be a point where there's an aha moment where she finally sees daylight, and she needs to accept responsibility for, she's the owner of the business. People offered money, sure. People lost money. It hurt some. People have their reputations hurt. It's not okay. It really is not okay. And so what are her plans? She can't make plans, but she needs to come to a grip with the fact that she's responsible, has accepted remorse, and has to understand that she needs to come to a place where she understands that she needs to show that she needs to make things right with her victims, with the community of influential victims that she cultivated over the years, as well as the judge, the community, her family. And this could take several years to develop. It's not going to happen right away. And this is her story. And by the time it's done, and it will take 6 months of rewrites, but if she's willing to face her demons, potentially it could be a cathartic moment by the time it's done. And it will, it may be able to, I'm reading here, it says sincere indictment of the rest of, it may be able to show that she's maybe learned from what she's put others through, and she's able to take the next step. Potentially, she's smart enough to make things right. And so what does this aha moment do? Well, before I get to that, to show the case managers, which are her stakeholders, who are responsible for her future while she's in prison, don't pay other people to do your jobs. Do your own job. Take quiet time to get settled in prison there, and to take quiet time to be at peace with your own thoughts. Don't forget, don't let people tell you that the outside's the outside and you're inside. You can't shut the outside world out. Otherwise, it's just not good. I did that and it doesn't work. It's going to be a shock to your system, but prison is temporary. And there are going to be those that want to take advantage of you, and you should be able to see it. You're a smart girl. But if you're able to write this narrative and have that aha moment, it's never too late to start. And that narrative can become your release plan, together with your first step back programming, the reading of books. Maybe you're able to create a course. Lord knows you're smart enough with a syllabus for the others there, because you're probably going to be the smartest person in the room. Just don't let everybody else know that. And it can be a couple of days a week, run it for several months, see what happens, but show it to the case manager and counselor. And if they like it, they'll show it to their supervisors. It'll get passed. Maybe it may get passed. It may get turned into a first step act class. And in which case, let your case manager take credit. And then you'll look like a star pupil. And in the long run, now you're now looking better to your case managers, unit team, counselors, because you're showing incremental improvements in your criminogenic tendencies without ever trying. And that aha moment, as you're emailing home every week what you're doing, at some point, maybe that'll get turned into an autobiography. You don't know. Especially if what you're writing in a separate set of journals, your aha moment really is your narrative and release plan. A publisher may take you up on it at some point. You have enough time to think about it. And with that, now the Second Chance Act. Because if you've taken the time several years to think about writing this, because it's not going to happen overnight, believe me. It took me a couple of years to realize that I wasn't candid with my attorney, and I'm on the outside. Then your case managers, they have the ability, and you have the time due to your sentence, that you could spend maybe up to a year at home on home confinement, maybe 6 months to a year in halfway house. And so, you don't know. And I hope that this gets shared with, in addition to all of you who are listening, which I'm grateful for, that someone knows Elizabeth Holmes or her attorney, and this gets shared with them. But if not, I am grateful all of you have taken the time to listen, and I hope you had a great day on the first Tuesday after Memorial Day. All of you stay safe and have a good day.